nothing is new. This week we wrap up Season 2 of Semiosis 101 with fire and ice in this final omnibus to pave the way for the start of Season 3 next week. To understand and apply PICASSO semiosis, semiotic sign action, to enhance your visual communication abilities, we will explore how visual meaning making is intrinsic to human development across history and visual communication design. Who turned the lights off? Welcome to the final Semiosis 101 Omnibus edition from Season 2. If you've watched Semiosis 101 videos before, then you'll already know I am Dave Wood. In this omnibus, I collect the final 3 videos of Season 2, plus a preview of Semiosis 101 Season 3's theme for the next 20 episodes. These 4 videos can be watched back to back in this edition, and keep watching to the end to get some exciting Semiosis 101 news. Season 2's semiotic theme is a semiotic Rosetta Stone. For any new viewers joining Semiosis 101, welcome. What this briefly alludes to is the unlocking of Charles Sanders Peirce's semiotic theory of semiosis, sign action for designers and illustrators. Why? Peirce was a philosopher, a radical thinker, and his semiotic theory is applicable to enhance the designers and illustrators' visual communication abilities. But his writing is very obtuse, hence the need for these Semiosis 101 videos. In this 6th omnibus, we will bring Season 2 to a close with a review of what we have learned after 2 episodes, including a final book review. In doing so, we time travel back to an icy European tundra, to a time of mammoths, to really begin to appreciate the power of semiotic sign action, semiosis. As I said at the start of the omnibus, keep watching to the end for exciting news of a new Semiosis 101 development. It will be worth it, but first we have the final semiotic book review of Season 2. So subscribe and let us jump straight into semiotic fire and ice. In episode 2.6 early in Season 2, I summarised James Jacob Liska's work on Peirce's 4 conditions a semiotic sign must have. In a very short book review, there was no time to go deeper, but the 4 conditions in the design-centric terms are: representative condition, it must correlate to or represent a concept, object. 2. Presentative condition, it must have some sense or depth in its presentation of the representation. 3. Interpretive condition, it must articulate something to someone. 4. Triadic condition, it must mediate itself as a sign through the interrelationship of the first 3 conditions. This week I will be reviewing 2 other books on signs separated in time by thousands of years, but both applicable to how creators can understand a semiotic sign. Liska's work will help us frame the books. The 2 books I will be reviewing essentially cover the roots of visual communication and contemporary semiotic design thinking. The 2 books separate discussion of semiotic meaning by vast epochs of time. The first book takes us back to the Stone Age roots of recorded visual communication and symbolic behaviour, in the broadest definition of symbolic. This is The First Signs, Unlocking the Mysteries of the World's Oldest Symbols by Genevieve von Pettinger. This book explains her thesis and research into what could be the first graphic visual language. The second book is Fire Signs, a semiotic theory for graphic design by Stephen Skaggs, a great book on graphic design and Peircean semiotics. This book brings this week's video right up to the current state of applying semiotics into visual communication. Von Pettinger's The First Signs situates us in the Paleolithic cave art of the Upper Stone Age. Forget your prejudices of brutish cavemen grunting. We are talking here about beautiful art on cave walls deep inside cliff faces and mountains where natural light does not penetrate. The meaning of these beautifully painted frescoes and engravings of mostly animals is lost to us, but they meant something to our ancestors who, like us, were modern humans. Modern humans with the same cognitive abilities, social structures, emotions, languages, cultures, and ability to represent something as something more than its mere depiction. The only thing separating them from us in the 21st century of gadgets, apps, etc. is materials and technology. They were restricted to natural materials from the available minerals, fauna and flora they could exploit. So what has this ancient human history lesson got to do with semiotics? We are talking about groups of humans who thrived as hunter-gatherers on the European steppe and painted depictions of Ice Age animals on cave walls that only a few of them could ever possibly see. The earliest cave art found is mainly European, in cave systems at the edge of the glacial sheets of the Ice Age. Investing in painting with animal fat lamps in cramped and low accessibility cave systems, beautiful frescoes of animals with superlative attention to form and detail, these paintings have symbolic reference to the painter's primary audience. Von Petzinger acknowledges this art, but her book goes deeper than the image. Hidden in plain sight in the paintings are a taxonomy of 32 symbols. Her book focuses on those and what they possibly reveal. This review will not reveal that, you'll have to read the book. But what the significance of her meticulous research is the hypothesis that our encoding of meaning in both image and graphic form predates our written language. In Semiosis 101 videos, we have discussed the target audience and focused only on semiotically communicating to our primary audience. When we look to the ancient past, we do so as a tertiary audience. We have to be mindful that any meaning we take from these caves is mediated by our own 21st century biases. So we can never fully understand what the ancients meant. However, what von Petzinger's research and hypothesis does provide us with is the understanding of what we now do as illustrators and designers is intrinsic to our social-cultural lived experiences. In the late 19th and early 20th century, Charles Sanders Peirce developed his theory of semiosis. With that as a framework, we can apply the principles to the cave to realise that yes, there were concepts encoded within the symbols and images. These concepts were represented in animal depictions and graphic symbols to be seen, not by everyone, but by a target audience, for whatever reason they culturally had. These caves were reused over thousands of years, each generation adding to the frescoes, or not. But there was some intention for the representations to be interpreted. Concept, representation, interpretation. A semiotic determination flow older than the written word by 43,000 plus years. We will touch more on our ancient roots in upcoming videos, but let us jump now to the 21st century. I bought Stephen Skagg's Fire Signs when it was first published in 2017, a year after I published my PhD thesis. This was significant to me, as while I had been struggling with understanding and applying Peirce's semiotic theory in my PhD in Scotland, Skaggs had been writing his book in the USA. Skaggs states in his foreword on page 9 that he hopes, as a graphic designer semiotician, that a new generation of intrepid designer scholars will come forward to make the next advance. I first began to read Fire Signs in 2017, around the time I was formulating what a semiotic Rosetta Stone meant to designers and illustrators. So at the time I only read half the book and paused. This was to give myself a chance to channel Peirce through my own visual communication design lens. Skaggs' excellent book takes the reader through Peirce towards a semiotic theory for graphic design. My demarcation for the semiotic Rosetta Stone was slightly wider in its disciplinary focus than Fire Signs. So I did not wish to be too influenced or have to critique a fellow pilgrim through Peirce from my disciplinary area before I had my own take. This was a sensible position for me to take, as this would be 5 years before I conceived of the Semiosis 101 channel. I have also published, presented and workshopped many times since then. I recently returned to Fire Signs with a healthy conceptual demarcated distance to now share with you both a convergent and divergent lens on the book. I really recommend Semiosis 101 readers to read Fire Signs yourselves and then join us as intrepid Peircean semiotic designer scholars. Thanks to the COVID pandemic, I am still to meet Stephen Skaggs, as back in 2020 we were in communication and he was trying to organise to visit me and another colleague while Stephen was on a European sabbatical. Unfortunately, during this time I moved, virtually thanks to the first lockdown universities, and lost his correspondence on my old university email. If you watch this video, Stephen, I will be getting in touch for season 3 maybe 4. Over the coming final Season 2 videos, I will be drawing on both the First Science and Fire Science books to help wrap up the Semiotic Rosetta Stone theme. In rereading Fire Science, I return to my highlighting and annotations from 2017. Skaggs uses a term that will be very useful and converges between Fire Science and Semiosis 101's thesis on applying Peirce. To end this 18th Season 2 video, we can first conclude that the human ability to encode shapes, marks and imagery with meaning stretches back to the dawn of humanity and was not recently invented. Secondly, like myself, Stephen Skaggs agrees that Peircean semiotic theory is best for designers as the enormous opportunity semiosis presents not only to fit our experience as designers of visual messages, but to illuminate aspects we may not have noticed. The word I will leave you with this week is Vicent, and this word ties together most of Season 2's take on perception and interpretation, and how to encode your aesthetic to hook your target audience. I've just ended video 18 on a semiotic cliffhanger. You will now have to come back next week. Weeks ago I reviewed the last 2 books for now. Fire Science I will discuss again next week, but the First Science segues nicely into the topic of this week's video. We are time travelling back at least 45,000 years. We are entering the dark caves of Stone Age Europe when we humans were hunter-gatherers, living at the edge of Ice Age glaciers, painting images on hard to access cave walls in darkness. Okay, they took light into the caves in the form of animal fat torches. Why are we suddenly time travelling back to look at what some ape man daubed on a wall between clubbing mammoths? Firstly, like with semiosis, suspend your immediate bias. Secondly, these people were not British apes but modern human beings like you and me. Thirdly, these people were sophisticated. Granted, they had no identifiable written language. We would have to wait until we became farmers in the Bronze Age for writing. Von Pettinger's book, The First Science, suggests symbolic language is ancient, with interesting research evidence to support her hypothesis. We are in this video interested in both these signs and the figurative animal paintings that surround them. These Stone Age painters verbally communicated they had culture and social structures. There were not great numbers of our ancestors roaming the European Ice Age tundra, and they probably were interconnected with each other with tribal groupings. Their brains were exactly the same as our brains. Their technology and material culture was just different to ours. This means that very few artifacts of daily Stone Age living survive, only what is painted in the caves. The Stone Age mobile artifacts that do remain offer tantalising insights to their socio-cultural world. We know from our own human species family tree that ochre had been utilised as pigment by our cousins Homo neanderthalensis as far back as 300,000 years ago, but it probably goes further back to our distant human ancestors too. Ochre as a pigment can be used on many surfaces such as leather, human skin and rocks. Worn as body paint, it is thought to have been both a prophylactic against bug bites and the sun, and even tribal affiliations. It is this evidence that is fragmentary, as everything except rocks rot over time. We are talking about the creation of paintings that remained in use for tens of thousands of years. Think of your grandparents' generation, then go back at least 1600 generations. We are focusing on a period of at least 1200 generations of humans here. Over vast epochs of time before the agricultural revolution took place, our ancestors visually communicated something that had social cultural importance to their lived experiences. A time of mammoths and snow stretching across tens of thousands of years. The caves across southern Europe containing these paintings were rediscovered over the last 200 years and contain many friezes of beautifully observed and represented Ice Age animals. An apocryphal tale quotes Pablo Picasso after visiting the paintings at Lascaux Cave, stating, "In 20,000 years we have learned nothing." So what has all this contextual history got to do with semiosis? I hear you snap back at the screen. I am not suggesting the Ice Age painters knew of semiosis when painting. That would clearly be a stretch, and I want to make clear I am not making. I am stating that the act of encoding meaning into visual forms is a human skill we inherited from further back than anyone appreciates. 1600 odd generations later, Peirce found one philosophical way to explain how we communicate semiotically. So what can we learn from our early human ancestors' social cultural world, semiotically speaking? After all, by the sheer passage of time, we are certainly not the target audience. As we have seen in these Semiosis 101 videos so far, creators should only consider their primary target audience when encoding semiotic sign action. By the time a tertiary audience so far removed from the target audience tries to interpret what they see, they will bring their own lived experience bias to the interpretation and apply a narrative and meaning that only makes sense to them. Therefore, from where we are in the 21st century, with our own social cultural references and biases, we are in danger of misinterpreting these paintings. So let us avoid doing that to these paintings as much as possible. Instead, let us learn from the images what we can through applying semiosis using the three representations of the concept lenses of iconic, indexical and symbolic, shall we? We are safe from misinterpreting the cave images if we approach them from a phenomenological direction, a position of lived experience and material culture. When we look at any cave painting, we know several immediate things that helps us position our inquiry. Someone wanted to paint in areas of caves that had no direct sunlight and were difficult to access. For this act to be successful, it required dedication and sophisticated observational and creative skills. I will not focus on any spiritual aspect of why they were painted. Let us leave that thought hanging behind our semiotic focus. We know these cave areas were not habitable and that the people probably lived in the surrounding valleys in high tents, perhaps also painted. The majority of paintings across tens of thousands of years these caves were visited were animals, both prey animals and carnivores. Very rarely are human figures painted on these cave walls. By applying abductive reasoning, we can say that as hunter-gatherers, animals were of great importance to our ancestors' survival. Edible plants would also be as important to them too, but these are not painted on cave walls. This point is indicative to why animals, but using semiosis as a decoding exercise, we will summarize soon. Abductively reasoned, we can say that the style of painting is very anatomically realistic and does not evolve over the vast expanse of time that people painted in caves. Just consider that fact for a moment. Stylistically, the representations of animals remain fairly consistent for tens of thousands of years. Now, consider over the last 3,000 years how rapidly painting and visual representations evolved across different social cultural groups and shorter time periods. There is some great experimental research by a French illustrator, Bernard David, which could explain the material culture and Ice Age technology behind why. Check the description below for his book. Again, we can abductively reason that the cave paintings were painted there for reasons more important than because, or that the cave was an art gallery. They told the viewing Ice Age audience something about themselves. We can see the outlines of ochre painted with brush fingers or pigment blowing. We can see the animal skin patterns recreated on the animal shapes, the body language indicated by both line and shapes of the cave walls. As a tertiary audience, 1600 generations later, we see these converging elements forming shapes and textures as familiar to us in the 21st century. We can identify them as animals. We can identify these elements as graphic shapes too, see from Petzinger. These iconic representations begin the semiotic sign action. If you are aware of such things, you can call them mammoth or horse. But if you are a scientist, you may follow the indexical representations to actual species from the painting. So far so good for semiosis. We are still on safe interpretation ground here, so what about the highest level? Symbolic. To end this 19th season 2 video, we will end on the symbolic level of Ice Age cave painting interpretation. Again, we can only apply abductive reasoning on our limited knowledge of the lived experience of Ice Age hunter-gatherers. We can hypothesize that on a semiotic symbolic level, the animal depictions had important meaning to hunting societies. Painting of them on hard to access walls in darkness suggests ritual significance. Symbolically, it is safe to interpret a visual connection between the carnivores and humans for a successful hunt of prey animals. Semiosis can be encoded by the creative into the visual communication work to aid successful interpretation. We have been doing it for thousands of generations. We are only now just realizing the power of semiotic sign action. Come back next week for the Semiosis 101 review of Season 2. This Semiosis 101 season's first 5 episodes help to orientate you all to what semiotics is and is not. The next 3 episodes then addressed a shift in importance from the creative onto the target audience. Thus, applying semiotic theory in creative work has just got a fresh new focus on interpretation. I began this reorientation by introducing a phenomenological viewpoint to consider your audience by introducing the concept of audience life worlds. To help further focus you all on applying semiosis to semiotically hook and retain the attention of your target audience, I also use pragmatics to show aesthetics as proactive. This opened up the conversation in the next 3 videos to existential ways of understanding your target audience. This introduced a logic of design tool to process your new understanding into useful semiotic clues. Then we spent 3 episodes unpacking how to use that abductive reasoning to build audience hypotheses. At each point in Season 2, where I introduced you to a new philosophical ideas, I began with a semiotics and design book review. These book reviews were of books that help my own processing and application of Peirce's semiotic theory. The intention of reviewing these books is to help you designers and illustrators to expand your own conceptual understanding of how to apply semiosis. After my first review of 5 important semiotic books, I then paired book titles around each new month's episode's theme to frame the theoretical discussion. In each pairing, I tried to provide a useful academic semiotic theory book, plus either a complementary design or philosophy book. The most recent of these book reviews opened up the discussion on applying semiosis across vast expanse of human development, from present day practice right back in time to our hunter-gatherer ancestors. So let us now review Season 2's contribution to your designer-centric understanding of applying semiosis. Firstly, we have translated Charles Sanders Peirce's obtuse but brilliant semiotic theory into 21st century design and illustration creative practice examples. Secondly, we have positioned the target audience at the centre of the creative practice. After all, it is the target audience we are visually communicating with, and the client's task will only be successful if the creative can hook and retain their attention, semiotically hooking them away from the overload of visual noise that surrounds them every second their lived experiences. The semiotic Rosetta Stone metaphor is crucial here. To creators, Peirce's excellent theory may as well be written in hieroglyphics, as it is overly complicated and obtusely written. In Fire Signs, Stephen Skaggs' excellent 2017 book, he set out to centre Peirce as a semiotic theory for graphic design. My own visual communication PhD had been published in 2016 by the University of Edinburgh, so this valuable book was too late to influence my own application of Peirce into visual communication design practice. While we diverge on ways to apply Peirce, Skaggs and Semiosis 101 does converge on the importance of Peirce's theory in our creativity. It was of interest to see how, at the time of writing our manuscripts, we attempted almost simultaneously to put Peirce's 10 classifications of a semiotic sign into contemporary creative context. See Season 1 videos 7 and 8 for a quick overview of these 10 sign classifications. I will return to these probably in Season 5 episodes late next year. Soon Semiosis 101 Season 3 will begin, so I will expand on the convergences with Skaggs's fire signs in more depth then. What is crucial here is that I am not the sole voice advocating PICASSO semiosis to help enhance how you visually communicate. Paired with Skaggs's book, I reviewed Genevieve von Pettinger's The First Signs book. Then, last week, I took you all semiotically back at least 1600 human generations. I did this so you can appreciate, as a tertiary audience, how semiotic sign action with its implicit abductive reasoning logic can be used to decode semiotic meaning. As this Semiosis 101 season has emphasised, we normally only concern ourselves with the target audience. But at this tertiary level, we can now also appreciate how, as humans, we have a long tradition of visually encoding meaning for other humans. Almost like we are hardwired that way. The First Signs tantalisingly provides this evidence. I would highlight 3 main important Season 2 ways to frame how you design or illustrate. 3 semiotic hacks to enhance your visual communication skills to attract, connect with, and retain your target audience's attention and focus. These 3 fresh ways to rethink how illustrators and designers do what you already creatively do during your ideation phase, unapologetically brings in some philosophical lenses to consider adopting. PICASSO semiosis is firmly philosophically rooted in a phenomenological world. Peirce's chosen logic on which his approach follows has always been described as the logic of design. This is abductive reasoning from which a working hypothesis can be made to begin to understand your target audience, any target audience. Both of these open up the creative to then explore the existential lived experiences, the life worlds of your target audiences. Peirce's semiosis is built on triadic structures where 3 aspects interact with each other during the semiotic sign action. These phenomenological states are firstness, secondness, and yes, thirdness. Check out Season 1 episodes 115 to 118 to get a grounding in these states. In 4 Season 2 episodes 2.9, 212, 215 and 216, we explored these states and began to contextualize them into what they mean for creative practice. We did this in the context of the aesthetic decisions creatives take and how this aesthetic can be crafted semiotically to enhance the attention of the audience. We saw this as a way to semiotically strengthen the calls to action the visual communication suggests, whether this is a page turn or a change in outlook, or yes, even to convince them to buy more beans. This season, I presented examples of how you as creators can get better at abduction. No, not kidnapping, logical abduction or abductive reasoning if you prefer. Stop cutting letters out of these papers, there is no ransom demands. Abductive reasoning has been called the logic of design. Unlike deductive reasoning that seeks a truth or inductive reasoning where scientific proofs are sought, this logic looks for the best solution in the here and now. A working hypothesis that can be reviewed and updated as more is known, but a logic that helps creators to begin ideation. In episodes 2.12 to 219, we examined different ways to use working hypotheses to understand the target audience and to use their lived experiences to gain insights to begin encoding with iconic representation. We hacked an audience persona tool, remember? Speaking of audiences' lived experiences, in episode 2.8, I introduced the phenomenological lens of a life world, a philosophical framework in which audiences' lived experiences can be understood. This season, I introduced a new existential term to the exploration of applying semiosis. Dasein. See episodes 2.6, 2.8, 2.9, 212, 213 and 215. Dasein is a German word that the philosopher Martin Heidegger used to understand how we exist in the world and how meaning is constructed from experience. The English translation is being there. This was introduced to help creators to learn from the experience design discipline and to prep you all for considering the audience not as passive consumers but as active interpreters. Semiosis, semiotic sign action, cannot work at all without interpretation. So we spent time examining target audiences and hypothesizing through 4 existential states of being their needs. So we end the second season of Semiosis 101 with a fresh perspective and repositioning on your role as a visual communicator. Season 2's Semiotic Rosetta Stone metaphor has helped reframe your creative role as a facilitator of behavioural changes in your audience through what you design or illustrate. Jorge Frascaro would be proud of you. By beginning to encode semiosis in your ideation from insights gained from a working hypothesis, which was developed by using abductive reasoning, you can reveal what visual qualities are familiar to your audience. These qualities offer tantalizing visual semiotic hooks to their attention. Next week, we will preview Semiosis 101 Season 3's theme and have some further exciting news on Semiosis 101's work to make semiotics easier to apply for you, illustrators and designers. So, subscribe and come back. In Season 1, those 20 episodes framed the main thrust of Peirce's pragmatic semiotic theory into reference episodes establishing the key language and theoretical positions. Season 2's theme of a semiotic Rosetta Stone referenced those key Peircean positions. Season 2 provided new philosophical lenses through which you, creatives, can reposition your own approach to semiotic ideation. The Semiotic Rosetta Stone theme used a creative meta-language to explain Peirce to designers and illustrators. By centering the encoding of semiotic sign action directly in the research and ideation phases of any design or illustration. In both seasons, I prepared you creatives to consider a more phenomenological mindset to enhance how you visually communicate to your target audiences. Even though Semiosis 101 centers the creative in the semiotic theory, the creative must learn to center the target audience in your semiotic encoding. We spent time on exploring how to understand your target audience in order to discover what familiar experience qualities can kickstart semiosis. We explored this through several types of example that were meaningful to designers and illustrators. Now, in Season 3, we are ready to draw on more firmer examples of how to encode your ideas with semiotic signs to enhance the effectiveness of your visual communication abilities. These examples will still be general. It is up to you all to craft how you will apply semiosis in your work to enhance the effectiveness of your visual communication to your target audience. So let's quickly lay out how. In Season 2, Episode 2.18, I left you all on a terminology cliffhanger, which I promised would be addressed the following week. That was a miss of me, as I was not ready to actually discuss the term Vicent before I had discussed the Ice Age roots of what we now call visual communication. Vicent is a term that a fellow Peircean designer semiotician Stephen Skaggs uses to describe the visual meaning-bearing elements within visual communication. He describes the Vicent as the visual entity. Vicent, get it? Now that we are about to begin Season 3, this is a good point in time to begin to describe the thing we design or illustrate, which is semiotically encoded. Skaggs' book Fire Signs focuses solely on graphic design and Peircean semiotics, whereas Semiosis 101's remit is broader. Semiosis 101 focuses on both designers and illustrators as visual communicators. While both sets of creators are visual communicators, their practice and approach in how they visually communicate naturally differs. So, in the first 4 Season 3 episodes, I have decided to call the videos episodes now. We will prepare the ground for semiotically encoding by discussing what are meaning-bearing elements we design or illustrate. Then, in the next set of 3 episodes, we will focus on what the visual communication building blocks which we can semiotically encode to enhance your success at hooking audience attention. At this point, we will be halfway through the season. We will be informed enough by then to dig a little deeper into Peirce's semiotic theory to examine ideation as semiotic sign action in sketchbooks and ideas development. In Season 1 and 2, we have focused on explaining how semiosis works from the point of view of representing the concept, or in Peirce's obtuse terminology, representation of the object. Now it is time to move to the interpretation. In Peircean terms, we will be focusing on explaining the interpretant. This means we will spend time on semiotically encoding 4 successful interpretations by the target audience. Following on from this, in the next 3 episodes, we will return to Peirce's 10 classifications of semiotic science, from simple to complex. Now that we will have examined interpretation, we will again explore what these 10 signs are, how they can help creators to semiotically structure your thinking to hook your target audience's attention. Finally, Season 3 will conclude with 3 episodes focusing on examples of semiosis in action during ideation. So whether you are a visual communicator, a designer, an illustrator, or just interested party in understanding semiotics and how it can be applied, Semiosis 101 Season 3 will be your guide. Now that Season 1 and 2 can be referred to for more detail, Season 3 will still focus on this channel's viewers as beginners, whether you are a student or a senior designer. In the next 20 Semiosis 101 episodes, we will begin each episode with a basic question on how. Each how question will focus on a simple matter that always worries the novice. In the spirit of the encoding theme, the Semiosis 101 episode will answer it in the most direct way possible. That is to say, the answer will only provoke more questions as your confidence grows. So do not be shy. Remember, there are no stupid questions. Ask your question in the comments. By commenting below with your semiotic questions, we engage in a conversation to grow a designer-centric confidence in applying semiosis together. We saw in Season 2 how the semiotic Rosetta Stone metaphor unlocked ways to hack semiotics to visually communicate and connect with your target audience. In our visual communication work, we produce various outcomes using appropriate visual language. It is in how this visual language, these aesthetic choices we make, can be semiotically empowered to visually hook the attention of our target audience. This is what we mean by sign action, or semiosis as Peirce names it. By learning how to apply semiosis to tailor your visual language, you can learn to connect at a deeper level with your audience. So that is our Semiosis 101 Season 3 preview. Over Semiosis 101's first year of publishing over 50 10-minute full episodes and hundreds of YouTube shorts, its subscriber base is growing. I invite my Semiosis 101 viewers to join the semiotic conversation by subscribing to this free YouTube channel. This new Semiosis 101 season sees some really exciting additional semiotic resources going fully live. Semiosis 101 is free on YouTube, but each video takes up quite a lot of production time to get it live. Semiosis 101 now launches 2 additional services to future-proof the channel and offer exclusive access to supporters to semiotic additional resources. I am pleased to announce a Semiosis 101 Substack for written resources and a Semiosis 101 Patreon for exclusive video resources. Each have its own subscription tiers. In 2022, I did a soft launch of a Semiosis 101 semiotic resource on Substack. This has now gone fully live. Free subscribers can download episode transcripts, previews of 5-minute semiotic reads, and various essays on semiosis. There's a lot of free information here. There will be a new 5-minute read each week, and the paid Semiosis 101 Substack subscription levels provide richer semiotic detail for my financial backers. Apart from the cool Semiosis 101 exclusive subscriber gifts, paid subscribers will get unrestricted access to all the 5-minute semiotic reads and the comprehensive semiotic philosophy and design annotated reading lists. Paid subscribers also get to exclusively preview and support a Semiosis 101 manuscript as I write it for publication and get a credit in future YouTube videos. The Substack link is in the description below. On Semiosis 101 Patreon, I send an open invite to subscribers to become a Semiosis 101 producer too. You'll get a producer credit at the end of all future Semiosis 101 episodes. There are 4 Semiosis 101 Patreon producer tiers to cover all budgets. When you subscribe to Semiosis 101's new Patreon account, your financial support unlocks access to exclusive non-YouTube video content, behind-the-scenes glimpses, and exclusive semiotic projects as they creatively happen. Patreon subscribers also get access to all future Semiosis 101 episodes months before they appear on YouTube. Whichever way you desire to engage with Semiosis 101, whether for free on YouTube or as a special Semiosis 101 member, subscriber, producer, Semiosis 101's designer-centric application of Peircean semiotics into practice will now continue this season and beyond. I am Dave Wood, a design educator and researcher, a published design author, and have worked commercially as both a freelance illustrator and graphic designer. The guy behind the theory, Charles Sanders Peirce, was a philosopher a mathematician, and a theorist. But he was not a creative. Each week on this Scout Scott Semiosis 101 YouTube channel, I will post at least one free 10-minute explainer episode on an aspect of Peirce's pragmatic semiotic theory. Each free YouTube episode features a take-home piece of applicable semiotic theory, and they do interconnect to build up your understanding of semiosis. Each free Semiosis 101 YouTube 10-minute episode will use design-centric terms instead of theoretical language. As well as the free YouTube episodes, I have 2 further Semiosis 101 semiotic resources you can subscribe to. Semiosis 101 producer roles are now available on Patreon. If you take out a paid Patreon Semiosis 101 patronage, you will get access to all the future season episodes months before they get published on YouTube. As a Patreon Semiosis 101 patron, you will automatically become a Semiosis 101 producer and get a name credit on all future YouTube episodes. Depending on which of the 4 producer tiers you choose, you will also get access to behind the scenes insights, cool Semiosis 101 Patreon merchandise, and other goodies for Semiosis 101 to continue making semiotic episodes. As a Patreon Semiosis 101 producer, you will be financially supporting the sustainable future of Semiosis 101 to keep explaining Peirce's semiotic theory. To become a Patreon Semiosis 101 producer, the link is in the description. I have a written semiotic resource available on the Semiosis 101 Substack. Here I have semiotic support materials for both free and paid Substack subscribers. There are full annotated reading lists, episode transcripts, 5-minute semiotic reads, plus other goodies and exclusive Semiosis 101 Substack merchandise. The Substack link is in the description. As a fellow creative and a published design author, I also have a link in the description to my main Scout Scott website. If you're interested in reading my semiotic Rosetta Stone academic writing, then you can visit my academia.edu link in the description. Any other books on Peircean semiotics or design I've mentioned in the episodes are also listed in the description. Check them out too. Thanks for watching. Check out the other Semiosis 101 episodes, like and share them with your friends. And hit the bell and subscribe buttons to be notified when next week's free Semiosis 101 episode is published. You can also follow Semiosis 101 on the socials for updates. It is at Semiosis 101 on Instagram and Threads. See you all again next week for more Semiosis 101 to help illustrators and designers to enhance your visual communication skills.